Hello and welcome our beloved viewers to RTD's News English Edition. Today we begin with our major in top highlights. Let's follow. A statement made by the Minister of the Budget. And on the international scene, the African continent celebrates World African Day in Malawi 2022. Those were our major top highlights. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. In a constantly changing world, tax administrations are modernizing and now are equipped with more high-level technological tools to obtain a better dynamic mobilization of tax reviews and better serve taxpayers. It is in this context the Minister of Budget made this morning a statement that focused on the new means available for a modern and efficient taxation. A delegation from Djibouti led by the Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of Industry, Mr. Ilyas Musa Dawali, participated in the 57th annual meetings of the African Development Bank Group, which opened yesterday in Accra under the theme Fostering Climate Resilience and a Just Energy Transition for Africa. The opening ceremony was attended by the presidents of Ghana, the president of Tanzania, and the president of the Union of Comoros, and finally the vice president of Ivory Coast. The governments representing the 54 African countries and the 27 non-regional members countries of the Pan-African institutions will have a high-level dialogue with the AFDB president Atsena and his team. This is a unique forum for exchange on key issues for African inclusive development. Following this, the Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of Industry, Mr. Ilyas Musa Dawali, participated in the AFDP Board of Governments. The Board of Governments is the supreme decision-making body of the bank in which each member country is represented by a government and an alternate government. The annual meeting of the Board of Governments took place immediately after the opening ceremony. The governments reviewed the bank's operations and took major policy decisions on improving the bank's governance. The Minister of National Education and Vocational Training is currently on a mission in London, the capital of the United Kingdom, where he is taking part in the World Education Forum, which is obviously one of the largest gatherings of education ministers in the world. This high-level event will see the participation of more than 112 ministers from all over the world to exchange views on the future of education. During their interventions, eminent experts and personalities will share their experiences and lessons learned from the COVID-19 crisis to build a stronger, bolder, and better education for all in a post-pandemic world. His Excellency Mr. Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, for his part, made an intervention during a plenary session dedicated to exchange focused on ways and means to find a better balance between the distribution of resources allocated to education and the requirement to meet greater equity. This opportunity was used by the Minister to highlight the policy and strategies put in place by his department in order to respond effectively to the schooling of children with special needs as part of the efforts made by the Republic of Djibouti to provide all children living on the national territory with quality learning and training opportunities that help them better prepare for their future. The Minister of Trade and Tourism, Mr. Mohammed Warsa Madiri, in the presence of his close collaborators, in this case, the Secretary General, Mr. Ali Dawood, the Director of the National Tourism Agency, Mr. Osman Abdi, his legal advisor, Mrs. Roda Daher, received in his office the Director of Investment of the company, Kasada Capital Management, based in South Africa, yesterday, May 24th. This official was introduced to the Minister by the President of the Sovereign Fund of Djibouti. The Kasada Group, sponsored by the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Qatar, is exploring investment opportunities in the field of hospitality in Africa. The group has already invested about 20 African countries in the hotel and tourism sector. This group, which can mobilize $50 to $100 million for tourism projects in Djibouti. This meeting emphasized the tourism potential of Djibouti and the many advantages offered by our country to potential investors in the hotel and tourism sector. African financing to develop Africa demonstrates the confidence that African businessmen have in their continent, which is full of opportunities. The Chief of General Staff of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, received this morning at the Hotel of Officers Hassan Basoma, located at the Plateau of the Snake, the Ambassador of Djibouti in the People's Republic of China, Mr. Abdullahi Miguel. In short, staying in Djibouti, Mr. Abdullahi Miguel was anxious to meet with General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim to discuss the files of bilateral military cooperation with China. Indeed, under the impetus of the two respective heads of state, the Republic of Djibouti and the People's Republic of China maintain strong relations in several areas, especially military operation. and cooperation. China is involved in the training of our military in several specialties, stating from the infantry to specific training such as the air and navy. This wide spectrum of distinct training is a testimony to the excellent strategic cooperation between the two armies. Also, Djibouti remains a privileged partner for China. Indeed, the Republic of Djibouti provided assistance in setting up the only Chinese base aboard. Djibouti is also a strategic point in the implementation of the Silk Road policy initiated by China. A Turkey-Africa Media Summit opened today at the Hilton Hotel in Istanbul, bringing together some 100 journalists from Africa and representatives of Turkey's official institutions, non-governmental organizations, think tanks, media, and private sectors. 100 journalists from Africa and representatives of official institutions of Turkey, non-governmental organizations, think tanks, media, and private sector, the Director General of Djibouti Radio and Television, Mr. Aden Abdi Jama, and the Managing Editor of the daily newspaper The Nation, Mr. Kennedy Ibrahim Hussein, are participating in the summit along with other media leaders from the continent. During the two-day summit, participants will hear Turkey's views on its relations with Africa, recent developments in journalism, and global challenges. Other topics that will be covered include post-COVID challenge in journalism, journalism under digital stage, women in journalism, but also how to challenge conventional narratives of African storytelling. The Djiboutian delegation on the sidelines of the summit had the opportunity to discuss with other media officials Turkish and African ways to establish cooperation in the field of digital media and facilitate exchange and expertise in this area. The Saudi School in Djibouti organized last night in the Great Hall of the People's Palace a ceremony dedicated to the closing of the students' activities for the year 2021-2022 and to the debutants of the 24th class of the third-year secondary students. The ceremony included various artistic performances, especially Somali and Afar folk dances, as well as a documentary film that highlights the progress of this high educational building over the past 3 decades. The Saudi ambassador, the director of Saudi schools abroad, and the director of the school in turn delivered speeches on the occasion, congratulating the gathering students and wishing them success and completion of their educational journey. The speakers also emphasized the great role played by the Saudi school in promoting the Arabic language and Islamic culture in the Republic of Djibouti within the framework of frontier relations and joint cooperation between Djibouti and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, especially in terms of educational cooperation. The closing ceremony took place under the patronage of the ambassador of the custodian of the two holy mosques in Djibouti, Mr. Faisal bin Sultan Al Ghamani, in the presence of the Secretary General of the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Muhammad Abdullah Mahyoub, the charge of the Embassy of Qatar, Mr. Ibrahim Al Shuraim, the Minister of Education and Vocational Training, and the Minister of Education of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Ibrahim Al Shuraim, and the director of the Saudi school in Djibouti, Mr. Muhammad bin Alian Al Harbi, and the rector of the school, Mr. Saleh bin Abdullah Al Ghamdi. The school's facility members and the parents of the 24th graduating class also participated in the event, which the Saudi school used to organize every year. At the end of the ceremony, the graduating students and the winners of the Saudi Ambassador's Award for the memorization of the Holy Quran received commendations from the hands of the senior officials present at the ceremony. In conclusion, the director of the school, Mr. Muhammad bin Alian Al Harbi, gave a commemorative gift to the sponsor of the ceremony, namely the ambassador of the custodian of the two holy mosques in Djibouti, Mr. Faisal bin Sultan, and the Secretary General of the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Muhammad bin Abdullah Mahyoub. It should be noted that Saudi school established in 1993 reflects the depth of frontier relations and close cooperations that exist between the Republic of Djibouti and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, especially in the field of education. Within the framework of the support project for the realization of socio-economic infrastructures and the promotion of economic activities in the region, the Djibouti Social Development Agency, which is also known in short as ADDS, accompanied by the African Bank, carried out a supervision visit of the activities and works of the PESIR project in the regions of Oboch on Monday, May 23rd at 9 a.m. This meeting brought together the African Development Bank, Environment and Safeguarding, the Acting Prefect of Oboch, Mr. Ali Mohamed Maki, President of the Regional Council of Oboch, Mr. Mohamed Humad Ismail, as well as ADDS represented by its Director General, Mr. Mahdi Mohamed Jama, the Project Manager PESIR, Mr. Mohamed Musa, as well as the beneficiary associations of the funding. This exchange meeting was punctuated by testimonies of direct beneficiaries of community micro-projects. The leaders took turns to speak, congratulated the associations for the efforts they have made to obtain the latest results in their respective interventions. They congratulated the associations for the commitment and the seriousness of their services. The Regional Council in the Prefecture affirmed their support to the ADDS in its efforts. The Director General of ADDS closed his speech by thanking the African Development Bank for these funds and hopes for a continuation of this project. In addition, the African Development Bank Supervision Mission accompanied by ADDS visited the work sites to assist the use of the infrastructure in equipment finance. The main objective of the mission was to review the progress of the project implementation and provide recommendations on improving the project implementation. The African Bank mission, led by Mrs. Jos Van, Chief of Entrepreneurship and Development, and Mr. Patrick, Environment and CFR Consultant, visited three structures. The delegation, composed of the ADB, the ADDS, the Acting Prefect and President of the Obok Regional Council, and the ADS, began its visit in Dali, where the ADDS has built a 15 meters underground water tank. The second visit of the delegation concerned one of the neighborhoods of Obok, that is to say, the Punud city, where the delegation saw some households of the 200 connected to the ADD. The work has progressed successfully. Finally, the mission visited the commercial center where ADDS has realized for the project. The mission went very well, and the delegation was very satisfied with the results obtained. As we shift towards the international scene now, the African continent is celebrating today World African Day, which marks the anniversary of the signing of the OAU, Organization of African Unity Agreements, on May 25, 1963. On that day, the leaders of 30 of the 32 independent African states signed the founding charter of the organizations in Addis Ababa. This day is an opportunity for each country to organize events in order to promote the rapprochement between African peoples. By this, our beloved viewers, we conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us, and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you once again for joining us. Take care.